So Andrew Tate comes out saying that traps are not gay, right? He is, of course, 100% correct. In this video here, I'm going to explain to you from a scientific standpoint why not only would cis men rather be with an attractive woman with a penis, but anyone would. And I mean it literally. There's no jokes in the video. This video is 100% serious. There is everyone, men, female, trans, non-binary, everyone is rather into a pleasing, aesthetically pleasing person, right? Even if they have a penis or not have a penis, rather than like an ugly, miscolored land whale. So if you're into this, please subscribe, press the like button, and let me explain to you from a scientific about why traps are not gay. Before we go into it, let me just address two things here, right? Why am I doing this video now, a few weeks after he said this? Because I'm not an Tate fan, right? I don't like his content. This is the first time I feel like I ever agree with him. And I just recently saw this video, right? Because I'm not some incel. I have a wife. This here is my wife, of course. See, so I'm not some incel, right? But I want to address this very briefly before we get into Tate. Is that there's an issue, I feel, generally speaking, that most anime people, right? Especially anime channels, YouTubers, or TikTokers, are goddamn losers, right? And I agree with that. So people probably do think there is like a connection between into anime and being an incel. And for 99% of the people, it's probably true, right? But not in my case. If anything, I'm actually so reverse incel that women attack me, basically, right? For example, I worked with Blizzard. My female manager sexually harassed me. She was very attractive. So that's actually how I am. Like I'm trying to avoid getting it. I'm still getting it. Of course, it might be because she was the manager at Blizzard. I think it's interesting he's addressing culture here, right? He's a man of culture, apparently, because I, as a behavioral scientist, I know a lot about culture, people behavior and so on, and I think it really is intriguing because Andrew Tate, representing this like hyper toxic masculinity, aggressive masculinity we call it, right? Yet he's like, I would rather do a girl with a penis, right? And the thing is that it actually makes perfect sense, which I will explain here, because they are much more appealing from an aesthetic standpoint, right? Than, for example, a miscolored land whale, right? And that is true for everyone. I keep saying it, but in the video here I will explain, right, that for everyone, again, for everyone, not just for cis men or this or bi or whatever, but everyone are more attracted, right, to an attractive Otokono or whatever, right, than someone that is just really, really unappealing. So if you simplify it, it's more like, if anything, it's more like that the women, right, that are really, really ugly are just really, really ugly. You know what I mean? And let me explain. I say word ugly, but from a cultural standpoint, or rather than behavioral standpoint, it is more about that these women, right, are aesthetically not pleasing. So let's show what I'm talking about here.
Isn't it? Because if you're going to sit here and go, oh no, it's gay to bang Megan Fox with a dick, I counter that argument. It's gay to bang Hulk Hugan with a pussy.
This I honestly find interesting, and this video has no jokes, right? I'm not being satirical here. This is actually the point. I don't agree with him on the term of, it's gay to bang, Hulk Hogan with a vagina. I don't agree with him on that particular case, the word gay, but it's more rather, and this I agree with though, if I rephrase what he's saying, right? What I agree with, and I really mean from a scientific standpoint, I'll explain to you why soon here, is that, a very unattractive woman, it's not, it's like a bad, it's like a grenade, you heard about the grenade, right? It's not very appealing, it's not very fun to be with them, right? So, well, it's not gay per se, it's like, you're kind of a loser, right? If you score, or if you can only score with an incredibly unaesthetically pleasing woman, then it's kind of a typical loser beta thing, right? Where if you are scoring with like a super attractive trans woman, that's a way higher status person, and that is from a cultural standpoint, right? Not just in modern culture, but even if you go back, like say 1,000 years ago in Japan, right? Japanese feudal lords, daimyo, used to sleep with other men, right? And again, if you look at that thing, right, it was more appealing to sleep with another, attractive, a rich man or whatever, than a really unattractive woman, right? Because, yeah, that is how it works. It's like, yeah, that's like higher status, right? But let's talk about some examples here. So this here is Miran. She's a famous Japanese actress, right? With, special equipment, right? Yeah, with a penis. And she calls it very, very attractive. And I want to explain here what she's, right? It's a cultural thing, it's a fashion thing, right? It's very important for this whole Tate thing, right? And that is she's like Gyaru, a Kuro girl specifically. So, but here is Miran, right? From My Desktop Darling, which is like Gyaru, right? You know, same kind of hair, you know, highlight, similar clothing and so on, right? So you're gonna see that no matter, and honestly, it's really important here. No matter if you have Miran here, who has no penis, right? Or Miran, that has a penis, but they are, and I mean generally, right, they look very similar because it's the same kind of aesthetic culture, right? If I show you this image here, these are two other actresses, right? You can see it again. They both have, you know, special equipment, right? They both have the penis, but they're clearly Gyarus, the Kuro guys, right? They have great body shape, right? Good muscles, sexy outfits, right? But what I think is important here is that, and I really mean this, right? I really mean it. There's no joke in this video. There's no satire. I mean, as a scientist, you know, I'm a scientist, right? Look at these ladies. They look attractive, but if anything is important here, they look aesthetically good, right? You know, they got the gold, right? They got the blonde hair. Typical Gyarus have blonde hair, like the Marin. The blonde, you know, bra, right? Or bikini, whatever, right? It's blonde, it's similar to gold, right? So it's similar color scheme, right? That is aesthetically pleasing to a human, right? And I really, really mean this thing here. That if you look at these two ladies here, right? No matter if they have a penis or not, right? They still look, you know, again, good, right? So if you're cis, right? If you're a man or a woman, regardless of who you are, right? In your eyes, these two ladies looks pretty good because they have, you know, a golden, a blonde, you know, they have a team, right? They have what they're wearing and how they look makes sense, you know? And that's really important to think about, because what I mean is that, again, regardless of the eye of the beholder, right? Regardless of the person viewing these ladies, again, if they're you know, queer, transgender, so it doesn't matter. They look appealing, right? They look correct, so to speak, right? They look like it makes sense. And if I then show you this image here, and this trigger warning, right? Triggerlipuff, right? Triggerlipuff, you know, a famous meme, right? Of an incredibly obese lady that is shaking her, you know, triggerly arms, right? Now, of course, Triggerlipuff, honestly, is not even the most worst looking person, I would say, in her kind of political domain. But Triggerlipuff, right, doesn't look very appealing. And I'm trying to be, again, nice here about it, right? But she's, you know, her body shape isn't very good because, you know, she's obese, factually stated, right? No, probably people could call me fat shaming. I'm probably gonna get like, this guy's fat shaming. No, but from like a biological standpoint, right? So there's two things here, right? From a health standpoint, being morbidly obese is unhealthy, right? Looking like these two, Kuro gal, transgender Otokono here, right? These two look healthy, right? They are muscular, they look strong, you know what I mean? This here looks incredibly, you know, unhealthy. So that's one thing, right? That's not appealing for anyone, you know. And so for 99% of humanity, you know, again, a girl with a penis looks more appealing than a girl that is unhealthy, right? And that is actually a fact. People are gonna be like, yeah, those look pretty hot. This is like, yeah, that looks kind of weird. Why are you so, you know, you can have health issues, right? Again, from like a health standpoint. Okay, so that's one thing. But more so, which is even more important, is that Triggerlipuff isn't actually the worst looking, you know, kind of woman, right? I don't think so at all. So honestly, I mean, she has a little, you know, health issue probably. But one thing is even worse is this thing, right? Stuff like this, right? So a huge thing is that, yes, Triggerlipuff might be unhealthy, right? However, a bigger issue really, for a lot of women, right, is that they're not aesthetically pleasing. For several reasons, right? But one thing is just the lack of symmetry. For example, right, I keep saying it, right, but these ladies here, you know, they have this like golden, you know, vibe going, right? It's very galley. So for example, here is an image that I've drawn. This is like some kind of, you know, necromancer lady or whatever, right? This woman here, even if she's like an undead or something, whatever, I would say that she is more attractive than most of these people, right, with really crazy hair color and so on. Because, you know, it's symmetry, she got her wings, she got the face, you know, it looks appealing, right? It's an appealing body, you know what I mean? Symmetry is more important. Stuff like this actually kind of matters, and I think that it's gonna, could we think about it, but yes, we have a lot of people today with strange, you know, hair colors and mismatch and all this stuff, right? But what I mean is that if you look at the typical, you probably know what I'm talking about, you know, typical political spectrum people, right? That have this crazy rainbow hair color and so on, for example. They are way less attractive than, for example, my undead chick here, but especially against women like this, right? Even though they have a penis. And again, I'm not even talking about, you know, like transgender people or talking about queer or non-binary. I'm talking about basically their allies, right? You know, people that kind of like on the side of, you know, oh, I'm an ally, I am for whatever, trans or something like that. I'm not talking about ladies with penises. I'm talking about the people that defend them or whatever I call them, right? And these people kind of have that weird, like, nothing of you is appealing. You know what I mean? And it really is like, yes. In a sense, Andrew Tate, what he's saying, right, is that most men, but also, and I equal here again, most women as well, right, would rather sleep with a woman looking like this, right, even if she has opinions, right, than something that looks like this, right, with crazy hair color, it's rainbowy, and it's all weird, or obese body shape, and strange clothing and so on, right, and for me it's very, very clear, not just because of whatever political reasoning, but from everything that our human brain has it accept as art, right? Look at Miran here in front of me, right? She's typical Gyaru, you know, gal design, right? She got great features. She also has, of course, you know, more than one hair color, right, in her anime and so on. But it makes sense, right? It looks pretty on her. You know, she got a good version of hair coloring. And for that matter, I'll just say briefly, but you know, when I was a kid, right, when I was a teenager, women with crazy hair colors were hot. You know what I mean? They were attractive. So, for example, my ex-girlfriend, my first girlfriend in college, looked something like this. I was dating a woman that kind of had a live wire hairstyle. She was kind of similar. She had short hair, and she kind of had like, you know, upgoing Vegeta style or whatever, right? And it was silvery, so it was kind of like blue silvery, but it was similar to live wire, seriously. And you know, she really made that work, right? Because she was like a muscular. She was pretty short, like 165 or so, I think. So much short. I'm pretty tall, so I guess for me short, right? But you know, she was muscular, and she got this like badass, you know, kind of. Yeah, a lot of hair gel to make her hair stand like a lightning bolt, basically. But she actually looks similar to live wire, seriously. And this works, you know. You can be a girl, right, with, you know, crazy hairdo, whatever, but it has to be pleasing to the eye, right? And I really want to point it out here. It's not just about Andrew Tate, what he's saying. But again, when I was a kid, right, teenager, and this girlfriend, I was 18, yeah. So when I met her as well, back in those days, you know, girls with like white hair, silver hair, blue hair, red hair, whatever, weird purple hair and so on, these were like cool chicks, you know. They were like emo and goths or whatever, or they were, you know, alternative, but like, yeah, like the purple hair chick was cool. Today the purple hair chick is like morbidly obese and just unaesthetically because she's asymmetric, she's got weird clothing on her. Like my ex-girlfriend, right, she dressed, you know, cool, you know. Yeah, she was quite fit. Like I said, quite fit, you know, crazy hairstyle, and she dressed really, you know, badass. She looked like a, you know, like just cool, you know. Like, I mean, she obviously dyed her hair to be like silvery blue, right? Which I of course liked because she looked like an anime girl. Let's be honest here. But yeah, you know, like she owned it. You know what I mean? She was badass with like silver blue hair. And today, most people with silver blue hair are like, oh, this is just like this person has issues, right? And you go back then, someone like these girls, right? Or Miran and so on, right? Typical, you know, example of a lady with a penis in Japan, right? Miran looks like an attractive person, right? Because look at her clothing, look at her hair, look at how she's, you know, moving her body and so on, right? Look how she's dressing, right? All of this stuff makes this person more appealing, right? To any human. And it's kind of better again. I mean, it's like, man. So lastly, what I'm talking about here, and this might be like an offshot or whatever, but I really want to address this thing here. This could be its own video. Hope you guys like and subscribe button and see if you want more of this topic. But I do think that, in a weird way, and again, there's no jokes in the video, right? Here's my wife and so on. When I was a teenager, I would say that trans people, so to speak, right? People that were, you know, ladies with penises, were more accepted than they are today, to some extent. And that might sound crazy, because you might think that, oh, aren't we way more progressive now? We got gay marriage, we got this thing, we got trans stuff and so on. But I genuinely think that the whole trans movement, right, is actually like going back because in popularity, whatever you call it. Because it probably peaked somewhere when I was in my 20s. something like that. And it was, like I said earlier, when I was like 15, 14 or whatever, in that age, we ever discussed, traps, Otokono or whatever, right? We all found them appealing, right? Because they are appealing, right? They got like this kind of look, whatever, right? They're attractive, got good dressing and so on. And one thing that I think is interesting is, have you heard about... So here's Trisha, right? And she's been in this Frenemy show with Ethan Klein. And I watched like every episode. I love it. I'm a big fan of Ethan Klein. But anyway, I remember this episode with Trisha and Ethan in Frenemies then, when Trisha is basically explaining that in her viewpoint, right, a femboy, right, or a trans, girl with opinions or whatever, right, like this, right, is hotter because they have more of an effort, right. I remember watching that episode. It's probably like 2-3 years ago now, whatever, and I was like, man, she's so right, because I really about that here. Like I said, I feel that, like I said, honestly, when I was 15 or whatever, me and my friends, we all felt that, like I said, Otokono, traps, fanboys, whatever you call it, right? Like this girl were hot, man. Hot, because they were like spending their time, because they were hardcore of being a woman, right? They were hardcore of, I want to be attractive, I want to dress up, I want to have, big breasts or whatever, but I want to have this cool side. And that's kind of what I'm coming to earlier, talking about people like Miran and other, actresses and so on, right? Especially in Japan and so on, like Kuro and so on, right there. These people are really want to be this fashion, right? Oh, I want to be like a sexy Kuro gal, right? And they really go in for that. So they get the clothing, they get the correct makeup, right? They get the hairstyle, they get the hair, they fix, they dye the hair in the Cray. They got, like I said earlier, they got the bikini that's a similar color as their hair. They got, they got the jewelry, right? They got the nails. It's like the effort, right? The effort makes these ladies be appealing, right? They fit in and so on. But it also makes them look, in a way, very, very hot, feminine, or whatever, right? And she just points basically to that, right? She's like, no, but she's like, femboys are more girly or whatever, right? Than a woman with a vagina, because they are just whatever, and they don't have an effort, right? So I think it's about the effort, right? Because of course you can be a woman and also do the same thing, right? Or even more, or whatever, right? But most women just don't. You know what I mean? So that kind of makes, the Otokono, right? The trap are hotter, right? But I think that I want to point out though, again, when I was a kid, like every trans person I knew were really into it. And I really mean it, right? When I was younger, basically the only people I knew that were, again, then, girls with pins, right? They were all like hardcore, oh, I want to be a really attractive, trap, so to speak. I want to be really, people should never tell that thing. I want to be hot and so on, right? So my viewpoint, when I was a kid growing up and so on, was that, transgender, that's awesome. You want to be male to female, so you want to be an attractive woman, fine. Or vice versa, right? You want to be a man, whatever. But you want to be attractive, right? You want to go in for that. And I think for most people, and I really mean it, right? For most people, because of symmetry, aesthetics and so on, that makes sense, right? If someone tells me, I want to be a very attractive woman, or, a very good-looking woman, whatever, and they're a man, they want to change into a woman, I'm like, okay, do it then, commit to it, right? Commit to it. But I think that generally, honestly speaking, all these people, not all of them, of course, I'm generalizing here, but a lot of these people we see right now, right, 10 years later, whatever, I'm talking about YouTube, but like, no, 10 years later, in media, there's so much of this like, oh, look at me, I got 7 different hair colors, and I'm really obese, and this thing, and I'm like queer, non-binary, trans or something, I'm everything, I'm gender fluid, this stuff and so on, right? These people are massively disliked compared to how trans girls were, right, back in the days, because they're not appealing, right? And they're not appealing because they necessarily aren't cis. It's not because they are not straight, it's because they dress up, as I say, right, they dress up in weird, but having 11 different hair colors and this stuff isn't good. I mean, you can make it work, but you probably can't make it work. You can make this body shape work if you have, for example, you think about being morbidly obese, right? If you buy the correct clothing, you're gonna look way less fat, right? If you have the correct clothing for your body shape, right? Or this dress makes your curve look better, whatever. Depending on what clothes you wear, you can look more muscular, you can look slimmer, you can look fatter, you can look more curvy, more thick, whatever, right? You get my point? That's what clothing is for, right? So anyone that wants to look appealing, if you're a man, woman, trans, male to female, it doesn't matter, right? But you have a variety of options of clothing to make yourself look better, right? You know what I mean? Regardless of your body type. So you have one body type. Okay, you got big breast, a big penis, you got that stuff, whatever. And then you have the correct clothing for that, the correct clothing. But you have, maybe 4 or 5 different outfits to make your body look, more appealing, right? And more aesthetically pleasing and so on. That's what you can do. And again, anyone can do that, right? But I think there is an interesting cultural, I don't know why I said that, I have my theories, but I think it's interesting and also detrimental in a sense, right? To, I think, trans people, to traps and so on, that you have this kind of next wave now then, right? I said when I was younger, trans people were all attractive. And I genuinely mean it. I felt that every person I ever met that was trans, either direction, when I was 15 or whatever, right? They were attractive. They were going in for it, right? And now it's just like, oh, they might be trans, but they're usually like something else, non-binary recruiter. And it's like, oh, you have this weird clothing on you. Why? Why don't you buy a skirt that looks good on you? You know what I mean? Why don't you buy clothing that makes your skirt look appealing? Like, why don't you fix your outfit? It's also questions that I think is interesting. I only mean that because I do think it's moving, the trans movement downwards, right? Where I think genuinely that trans people were more accepted like 10 years ago. Because then it was like, here's trans people, they want to be, usually it's male to female, it's more common than female to male. They want to be a woman usually then, some want to be a man, and they dress like this and they want to have sex with men usually then. Okay, and that's fine, right? But then, over the last years, it's like, oh, this person is like, I don't know, they look like a clown, you know what I mean? I try to be nice here, but I think it's important to think about that they do it right. And then, of course, back then, to Andrew Tate, what he's saying, right, and I agree with him, what he's saying is that you're a loser, right? He's like, you're gay, he calls him gay, but I see more like, you're a loser if you are doing one of these clowns, right? It's kind of what he's saying, right? Hulk Hugan is actually, honestly, not that unattractive, but at least he's muscular. So, like a woman looking like Hulk Hugan, yes, she got a vagina, she's very muscular. I would rather be with that than one of these, whaled clowns, right? I think Andrew Tate agrees to that. So what he's more implying, right, is like, no, but you're like a loser if you would be with these kind of women. As I said earlier in the video, if you look at it from like a hierarchical status point, right, if you are with a very, very like weird looking woman that has really weird outfit, weird clothing, she's like morbidly obese, all this stuff, right? They have that kind of weird body. Or you are with, Megan Fox, 10 out of 10, super attractive woman. Yeah, she's a penis, but it's incredibly attractive. Who of these people are actually like a higher status person, right? In a typical society? It is actually, of course, a woman with a penis. Even though she's a woman with a penis, she's way, 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 way better looking. So people are actually gonna, And also, it's all, of course, not all about, last point here, it isn't all, of course, about appearance as attractiveness, right? It's also just general, from a behavior standpoint, it's how the brain also works, right? Because when I see these people running around in really weird outfits, they look really weird, they look crazy, you're thinking they're unhealthy, you're thinking they are just cray, you're like, oh, why is this clown here for? It is just weird, It is weird. Like, I'm just like, that's weird. That's how everyone on Earth thinks, right? If you're black or white or green, it doesn't matter. When you see people behaving in a certain way that is very against the norm of society, right? You're thinking like, that is something weird with this, right? Where if you see, again, a woman with a penis, right? But she behaves like a woman, right? She's very attractive, dressing up nicely, she's interested in men, right? You're like, okay, do you actually care? I think that people have no issue, right? Not only being attracted to them physically, but also generally speaking, have no issue with someone looking like, Astolfo over there. That's like, okay, that's like an attractive woman. I don't care if she's an attractive lady, she's very feminine, and it just works, right? But when you see this like, oh, that's like a screaming clown, I'm just like, okay, that's why are they doing this? So I it's a side note, but I think this is actually what Tate is kind of going for more, right? That it's like, no, it's way better being with this, like, I guess, like, standard, like a classic trans woman, a classic girl with a PP, right? A classic one is, so to speak, that, that it used to be, you know what I mean? That is attractive, it's an attractive woman. And then there are a lot of weird women out there, or men or whatever. It can be men, of course, too, but I've become women now. And you're like, yeah, that's way attractive. Anyway, guys, What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Of course, traps are not gay. And I think I honestly made a point for it, right? And I mean it, right? Because traps are the essential character in an anime or manga, whatever, usually. Let's go from gaming and so on, right? For Japanese culture. A trap is a classic person that is very, very into it. You know what I mean? That are hardcore, right? They're like, and I don't mean hardcore as in the hardcore porn. I mean hardcore as in they are committed, right, to be attractive. They're committed to dressing up nicely, having the right outfit, the right jewelry, and maybe it's the right skill set, right? I don't mean skills as in romantic skill set, but maybe, you know, cooking or whatever. I mean, like, they have the skill, they have this thing and so on, and that's why they are attractive, right? And they're much more attractive than a woman that is doing nothing, right, to be attracted to a man. Think about it in that sense, right? A trap is a woman that, while she has a pee-pee, she's incredibly into being a good woman, so to speak, right? Whatever you determine as a good woman, but basically what the culture, so to speak, that she lives in, the culture is good. For example, good with children, right? Good at cooking, whatever. Good in those skills, and then good as in, you know, good clothing, good dressing, good hair, and so on, right? And then you have women that are incredibly just like, I refuse to follow the norms, and so on, right? They're not gonna be more attractive, right, to us as a man. And I really do think that, I mean, like, factually, more men, even if they would say they are cis, right, are more interested in sleeping with someone as Astolfo than someone that looks like Triggerlipuff. And that's a fact, because no man wants to be with someone that is so, you know, unhealthy, right? Except people have very, very, of course, specific desires. But 99% of the people see it as very unhealthy and it's very unattractive, right? Where you see someone like looking at the follow and you're like, whoa, what a babe, right? And then it's like, oh, here's a penis. Well, I guess I can still probably tap. That's what most people actually think, right? So, no, he's right. Traps are not gay. Anyway, please subscribe, slap button, have a great day.